I'm just interested because all measures are relative. So Russia's bad, Russia's a threat, Putin's evil, got it. But the total body count from Russia in the United States is right around zero. Like, I don't know anyone who's been killed by Russia. I know people personally who've been killed by Mexico. The government of Mexico allows fentanyl to be made in its country and to come over our border.
Yes.
And remittances from Mexico are a huge part of their economy. The Mexican government is party to the murder of hundreds of thousands of Americans. So why is Mexico less of a threat than Russia?
Hello, greetings, and welcome to another episode of the BlackRant Podcast. I'm your host, BlackRant, and today we're going to be looking at a very, very, very interesting subject matter. We're going to be talking about politicians and exactly how irrelevant they are in 2023. We are facing crises all across the planet, all across the globe, and even locally. Here in the United States, everywhere you look, there's a crisis. We're having a social crisis. We're having an economic crisis. We're on the verge of nuclear war. There's just things are falling apart at the seams. And that doesn't mean get depressed or anything, because personally, in your own personal life, in your own little small bubble or sphere, things can be fantastic and great. I mean, I just went out to dinner with my family. It was fantastic. I got to sit there with my daughters and my son, and it was great, but at the same time, we understand that there's larger things afoot and there's things happening all around the world. And as we look at these crises that are facing us, as we look at this change that's happening in the world, we used to look to our leadership, our political leadership, and say, what are you going to do about it? And now as we do that, they ever growingly, more and more have less and less answers for us. They have less and less valid answers and more useless platitudes. Just ridiculous things that they say. And so we're going to talk about Mike Pence. We're going to talk about Tim Scott. I like Tim Scott. We're going to talk about Nikki Haley. We're going to talk about Vivek. I like Vivek. We're going to talk about all the people that Tucker Carlson ended up interviewing at this family summit thing that they had this week, just today as July 14th. Epic. Absolutely epic. All right, so we will get to Mike Pence in a very, very quick moment, but I want to actually first look at the clip of Tucker Carlson talking with Tim Scott, and he asked a very, pertinent questions. What issues do you disagree with your donors? So let's watch that clip real quick, and then we'll comment on it, which I think it'll be hilarious. Oh no, that's not what we want to hear. An ad. Thank you very much.
I never did that. I was like, wow, there's a whole lot to read here.
The pictures are fake AI. But there must have been 10 stories this morning about Tim Scott shooting to the top and all super complimentary.
Sucks to be a politician, I just gotta say. The only good thing about it is that you can launder money or whatever. Oops. The only good thing about being a politician is that you get to insider trade or whatever.
What are the big issues on which you disagree with your donors?
So Tucker asked him, what are the big issues that you disagree with your donors on? He said, there's a lot of talk of you getting a lot of backing and support and all that from major Republican establishment people. So he asked a really pertinent question in a very nice way. Tim Scott gets up, starts walking away from Tucker, doesn't even answer the question, doesn't talk to Tucker, doesn't answer Tucker. He gets up and starts, addressing the audience, which is like, this is not like a candidate forum. This is like an interview. So it's kind of weird that he got up and started walking away. It's very robotic. It didn't look very good. It looks very strange. Then he got up and started addressing the audience and then started talking about his life and his past. Let's just watch.
Yeah. So, good news is, I'm glad to hear they're all flocking to me. I wish they would go ahead and write the check too, because we haven't seen that yet. I will simply say that the issues that I strongly support is I believe America can do for anyone what she has done for me. We are living in a time. Thank you, man. We are living in a time.
What?
When there is this pervasive.
He's not even answering the question. He's just going on and reciting some speech that somebody wrote for him or he wrote or something. It's just.
Culture of grievance on the American people. And along with the culture of grievance comes.
Now he's quoting the Bible. The question was the question that Tucker posed was, what do you disagree with your donors on? Now he's Galatians 28. Okay. This is it. This is everything you need to know right here in a nutshell about politicians and the way that they're approaching politics in the year 2023. As the world falls apart, they're asked a straightforward question. What do you disagree with your donors on? What are some of the issues your donors would like for you to cover that you don't necessarily, or there's some things that they like and they want, but you're not going to, you're going to push back on. You're not going to go for it. You're not going to, nothing. Doesn't answer the question. Completely doesn't answer the question. Gets up and goes, I was raised on a farm and my grandma taught me the value of hard work. And the Bible says that we all got to work together. It's just like, what are you talking about, man? Like, I'm sorry, but what are you talking about? First of all, you didn't answer the question. And second of all, it's just not even, what you're saying is not even relevant to what we're talking about right here. It's just, this is classic politician crap, dude. And this is why people are getting sick and tired of politicians. They want the truth. If you would have just come out and said, you know what, my donors like, this and that and the other. I really wish we wouldn't have to do that. They're my donors, so I got to represent them. But I also got to represent people who don't donate to me if I do get elected president. That would have been a great answer. Even if he said something that was really frivolous that they like, that donors want. Oh, donors want, more land to be allocated for this or whatever. I'm not really into that, but they're my donors, so I need to represent them. They've given me money and donated, and so they would like to see something, and I have to accommodate them, but I also have to accommodate the rest of the American people if I'm elected president. That would have been an actual answer. No, Tim Scott gets up, walks away, and starts addressing the audience as though this is like his big moment to speak, and starts quoting the Bible, talking about he wants to stand in the gap. What the frig are you talking about, man? I'm sorry. I just don't know what you're talking about. You're not relatable. What you're saying doesn't make any sense. You're not answering the question. This is why people can't stand politicians, because they never want to say anything that puts them on any one given side of any issue. They want to always stay in the middle. Where can I be in the middle? Where can I stand in the middle ground? Where can I play the fence? Where can I get the most claps but say the least amount of stuff? This is why Donald Trump is popular. I'm telling you, the more that the economy fails, the more that the world goes into chaos, the more that we lack leadership, because that's exactly what this is. This is a lack of leadership. This is just politicians now. It's all about peacocking. It's not about leading. It's not about, leading the charge and trying to get anything, legislation of any value passed. It's not trying to, do good for the American people. It's not trying to actually set an example. No. Being a politician now is how many claps can I get? How much money can I raise? How many suits can I wear? It's just nonsense. How many times can I get my name mentioned in the press in a positive way? Which is all nonsense, because number one, if you're a Republican in the press, in the media, your name's never going to be mentioned in a positive light. And if it is, then you're not really a Republican. You're a RINO. You're a Republican in name only. And then secondarily, this whole idea of going on and just talking about, I was raised on a cotton farm and that's where I learned my values. And it's like, dude, people aren't stupid. Everybody knows that everyone has a background. Everyone knows that everybody has, something that's given them the impetus to run for office or be involved in politics or be involved in policy. People are not stupid. But nobody gives a damn about your background. Nobody gives a damn about what your Mima said, what your grandma said. Nobody cares about that, because what have you actually done? The only thing that I know that Tim Scott has actually accomplished was something that he got accomplished while Trump was president. That he actually got, like, support from President Trump to do. I don't know anything else that he's actually done on his own, formed his own coalitions, anything like. I don't know what that is. I like Tim Scott. I think he's great. I think he could be the future of the Republican Party, but not this way. Not taking in tons of money from the Bushes, not taking all this money from the establishment Republicans, because all these people are doing is showing themselves to be nothing but opportunists. Sheer opportunists. Nothing but just naked opportunists. They know the Democrats are so unpopular that there's no way they can legitimately win the presidential election in 2024. No way, unless they come up with a fresh-faced candidate and they actually deliver a good message. There's no way. So all these Republicans are like, oh, maybe it's my chance. I personally don't think Tim Scott actually wants to be president. I don't think he's actually shooting for that. I think he's just trying to up his profile and looking for a good position in the cabinet of whoever the next president is. He hasn't attacked Donald Trump, so he's probably betting on Trump. But at the same time, the things that they're pushing for are absolutely insane and absurd. And that's where we're going to take it to the Mike Pence clip at this point. Let's look at the good old Mike Pence clip. This is absolutely insane. Here we go.
I'm sorry, Mr. Vice President, have you... I know you're running for president. You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough American tanks.
Look how mad
every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years. Yeah. Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States. And it's visible. Our economy has degraded. The suicide rate has jumped. Public filth and disorder and crime have exponentially increased. And yet, your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find on a map, who've received tens of billions of U.S. tax dollars, don't have enough tanks. I think it's a fair question to ask, where's the concern for the United States in that?
Well, it's not my concern. Tucker, I've heard that routine from you before, but that's not my concern. I'm running for president of the United States because I think this country's in a lot of trouble.
And then he realizes what he said was so absolutely stupid that he goes on to later say, oh, we're going to fix our cities and we're going to rebuild America and all this. Tucker says, leading up to this, Mike Pence goes, the Biden administration isn't doing enough for Ukraine. They haven't delivered on the Abrams tanks and the helicopters and the training and the whatever, blah, 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 blah. And Tucker goes, I'm sorry. Well, I'm looking around here in this country where you're claiming you want to be president of, and all the cities are going to shit. Everywhere you look, it's getting bad. Mental health crisis is through the roof. Homelessness is going crazy. Why do we need to give more to Ukraine? What's going on? Why can't we give more here? And Mike Pence, well, frankly, Tucker's not my concern. And it's like you could tell that it was like he was responding to something else. He wasn't responding to the whole question. He was like, Tucker didn't finish the question before he actually said what he said. So it's like, it's not like, I know Mike Pence did not mean to say America is not his concern, but good gosh darn it if it didn't come out and sound exactly like that. This guy had the most Howard Dean-esque flub of all time. It's just like we haven't seen something so catastrophic to a presidential campaign happen in live time since Howard Dean. That's how bad this was. If you don't remember Howard Dean, I'm going to play the clip for you right now. Oh, gosh. Well, we got another commercial. Hold on. I'm going to play the Howard Dean clip for you right now.
You know something? You know something?
2004 Democratic
If you had told
caucus.
us 1 year ago that we were going to come in third in Iowa, we would have given anything for that. And you know something?
Oh, gosh.
You know something?
Here we go.
Not only are we going to New Hampshire, Tom Harkin,
no.
we're going to South
We're going to South
Carolina,
Carolina,
and Oklahoma,
and
and Arizona, and North Dakota, and New Mexico. And we're going to California, and Texas, and New York. And we're going to South Dakota, and Oregon, and Washington, and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House.
Yeah! He tried to laugh it off, and he instantly knew that was going to be bad. January 19th, 2004. January 19th, 2004. The infamous Howard Dean moment where he just said honestly, in comparison to all the things that we've seen in recent political history, that is absolutely tame and mild. It should not have ended anyone's political presidential race, but the media was in such tremendous control in 2004. Everybody believed everything the media said. Media spun a cycle on it for 48 hours, and that was the end of Howard Dean. This is not going to be a self-inflicted wound. This is not going to be the media going against Mike Pence. It is literally Mike Pence from his own mouth destroying his own political career in live time. Absolutely astonishing. Oh my God. So anyway, people at home, viewers, those who watch this podcast, I don't pick on anybody in particular because I'm so mad and I hate people. I'm not one of those people. I'm not one of those people who looks at politicians and takes it personally. They are doing what they think is the best thing for them to do. I don't think that includes the American people. Obviously, as Mike Pence said, that's not his concern. It's not his concern, but but I mean, Nikki Haley had a flub. I mean, she couldn't answer questions. It's really shocking how it's almost as if these people have no intention of actually leading, winning, becoming president. Like, they have no intention. They're doing it just to make money and up their profile and pretend as though they're fighting against the communists and all this other stuff, when in reality we know there's a uniparty. We know that there's deals made behind the scenes. We're pretty well aware. Yeah, of course, there's some great conservatives out there. There's even some good Democrats out there. There's not many of them on either side, but we know that they exist. We know that there's real people out there. But the higher you climb, the less you find them. And we know that a lot of these people are running for office, for the presidency of the United States, just because it's an opportunity. They're opportunists. I think the reason why they're so terribly unprepared is, number one, we're really far out from the election. Number two, most people think that this is a slam dunk. It's not hard to say things that the left and the Democrats are doing wrong, because they're doing just so many things that are wrong. Even Democrats have a hard time defending Democrats. The only thing that they do to defend Democrats is just say, well, Republicans are racist, so I'm not going to vote for them, which is not, it's not really an argument for your team. It's just an argument against the other side, which is, I would argue there's racists on both sides of the aisle, and some people are better at hiding it or masking it or pretending than others. And to me, it doesn't really matter. What matters is if you get the job done, and if you're not trying to impede me because of the skin color that I have or possess or anyone else has. And so that's just being a realist. That's being a realist. That's living in the real world. We're not living in a utopia. We're living in the real world. I will say this: at this family leadership summit, Vivek did an excellent job, because Vivek's real. I like Vivek. He's the only millennial that's running for office right now. He's the only millennial ever to run for presidency. And it's inspiring. And I like his message, and it's a message of hope, but it's not just fluff and bullcrap and rhetoric and and platitudes. He really has an idea of what he wants to do, and I'm sure he understands that his chances, his likelihood of becoming president of the United States are very slim. But the fact is, he's putting out a message out there, just like Andrew Yang did, way back in the day. So I just want to wrap it up with this. These people are uncloaking themselves. They're revealing themselves. As we get more and more, and as the world evolves, it's just going to be harder and harder for people to fake it and pretend like there's something that they're not. It's just going to be too obvious. Everything that they say has got to be what they are. They're going to have to walk the talk and talk the walk. They're going to have to be about who they say they are. And you can tell by these people's responses, their answers, the meetings that they've been in, they are not talking to the average American person. They're not talking to the person who goes and works 9 to 5 or works their hands to the bone. They're not talking to that person who has to go to work, leave work in a hurry to go pick up their kid from daycare, from school, and drop them off at an activity. They're not talking to those people. They're talking to donors and lobbyists and think tanks and, lawyers and press people and marketing people and trying to get their image just so, and nonsense like this that further detaches them from the reality of what it means to be an American citizen. And that's why you have so many of these people talking about how great it is for us to be in Ukraine, how great it is that we spent $100 billion, how great it is that we can send more military weaponry over there. And now Biden's sending actual Americans over to Europe for some strange reason. We're not actually in the war, but we got to send people over there now. It's like the further and further escalation is not what American citizens want. There really was no actual reason for us to be involved in this, and it probably would have been over a lot sooner if we hadn't gotten involved in it. But I get it. There's lots of reasons why we want to maintain a certain line and boundary to keep East and West separated, but essentially, the Cold War is over, man. The reason why they needed this military-industrial complex, this ever-expanding military-industrial complex, the excuses are over. I mean, the war on terror is essentially over. I mean, they have no more excuses, and so the next escalation is going to have to be some kind of cyber attack or nuclear attack, and that's what we're all kind of waiting for in suspense. And it's sad because, that's what governments do when they have no more legitimate ways of keeping their population under control or in check. They have to continue to create new crises over and over and over again to maintain power. And that's where we're at. We're just going from one crisis to the next, to the next, to the next. As a millennial, that's what I've been inundated in for the entirety of my, conscious life from middle school onwards. 9/11 happened for me when I was in middle school. And so for most millennials, that's been their life. We've been in the decline of an empire that has to go from one crisis to the next, to the next, to the next, to maintain some kind of control over their people, their population's mental state, their psychology, and keep them trusting and running to the government as a form of protection. And it's sad because rather than doing that, rather than offering jobs and opportunity and growth and no. We're going to sell all that off. We're going to turn off all of our power supply, all of our energy. We're going to cut all that off. We're not going to drill. We're not going to, mine. We're not going to do any of that stuff. We got all these natural resources here. No. That's bad for the environment. We're going to export all that stuff. We're going to get oil from overseas in the Middle East that causes conflict. We're going to, put Africans in child slave labor to get the rare earth minerals. But we're actually going to give China the full control over that. So we have to go and bow to them for the electric vehicles that are supposedly going to save the planet. But they leave huge scars in the earth when they go and dig for this stuff and these lithium mines and all this other stuff. We're coming up with all the most nonsensical ideas and concepts to kind of keep ourselves ethically and morally clean, but at the expense of what? Our sovereignty, our freedom, our wealth, our future. None of it makes any damn sense. And that's how you know that the people who believe in that stuff and are going along with it have no idea what's going on. They don't even know what planet they live on. I saw a video the other day of a guy saying, well, farming is the real problem. Farming? Dude, do you not like eating? Like, it's just the most absurd ideas of all time. Now, if you want to talk about industrial, farming practices or industrial meat industry, Yeah, some of their practices are pretty grotesque and terrible, but you can't get rid of it altogether wholesale. But that's the world we live in, and this is why you have so many of these politicians just trying to get one over, just get one last ride, just get one last hurrah, and maybe they'll get one more big check, and they'll be able to ride off into the sunset as well as everything goes and explodes behind them while they're walking away. I'm telling you, there's only a few people out there that say that they want to be leaders and are acting like they want to be leaders. We know who they are, but they're not all these people getting up there and pretending like they want to be the next president. Just because they got an R in front of their name doesn't mean that they, garner tons of respect from me in terms of taking them seriously to vote for them. And I wish it weren't the case. I wish I did have tons of options. But these people are such political creatures that they're not running to be president or be a real leader anyway, because they know what kind of pressure that comes with. It comes with all types of pressure wherein they have to either be strong or they'll have to be owned lock, stock, and barrel by dozens of different people and different interests. Being president is not an easy job. Nobody should be there. There shouldn't be thousands of people clamoring to do that position. It should be a very exclusive position, and we should have very exceptional people that want to do it. And it shouldn't be a personality contest of how cool somebody is. It should be how competent somebody is. And that's where we're at right now. But thanks to Tucker Carlson for doing everything that he does. I want to thank the Blaze for airing this footage and putting it out there. And then I also want to thank all the people who came to this forum, even Mike Pence for giving us great viral content. But no, I want to thank all these people for actually putting themselves out there and giving us something to talk about, because on the Democrat side of the fence, there's no debates happening. There's no conversations. There's no forums. There's no summits. There's nothing. There's no debate is essentially illegal on that side. It's frowned upon. So I guess we got to say, at least on this side of the fence, on the conservative right-wing Republican side of the fence, at least there's conversation and debate being had. I wish it was more than just bread and circus to keep people occupied and make them feel good about themselves. I wish it was actual, real conversation and debate. We could talk about race. We could talk about religion. We could talk about all these difficult topics, but it's not. It's politics. But thank God at least we're having it. We're having the conversations. But anyway, that's my piece. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you guys for tuning in. BlackRant out.